SWOOP here, and today we're going to talk about the SWOOP Maturity Model. With me is our Chief Scientist, Dr. Laurence and Simon Terry from Change Agents Worldwide. Laurie, I'd like to start with you, and if you can just tell me a little bit about the maturity model and the stages of the maturity model, please.
All right. Well, for me, there's a long history with this maturity curve for communities. I mean, it goes right back even more than 20 years ago when I was working at BHP, and in the knowledge management program, we had a very healthy community of practice program, and in that stage, even it was healthy enough to build our own version of Yammer, if you like, before Yammer. And so at that time, I got quite an inkling of how we had something like 120 communities on this platform that we built, and we were starting to see this journey that some of the better communities were going through, and then a lot of them would die off, but we get some really spectacular ones as well. So when Yammer came along, probably in around 2008, 2009, we got the opportunity to start tracking some groups in Yammer. And again, we started to see this maturity curve where some would start, obviously there'd be a honeymoon period where they'd really get a lot of activity, then they'd drop into a bit of a trough, and then some of them would come back fighting their way through and eventually become quite productive communities. So we started writing about that, and then I started thinking, well, we need to start to frame our analytics around this journey, and being a good knowledge management person, I felt I should be able to find something online and steal it and use it ourselves, and so that's what I did, looking for maturity curves that people had come up with, and of course I came across Simon's, and I also came across a number of them, in fact. And what we did was that I felt that Siemens had one that was more technically focused, that didn't go as far as Simon's, and Simon's probably didn't start right at the tech end, but went more to the strategy innovation end. So largely what the SWOOP maturity curve is a combination of a Siemens front end and Simon's on the back end, if you like. So that's how we came up with them. And so there's 6 stages, and I guess there's 3 phases. I guess we call the first phase the social media phase, where largely it's just getting people on the platform and people working and using that platform. The second phase is where they're actually doing the social networking and connecting. And then the final phase we call the job fulfillment phase, which is really getting the job done, solving problems, innovating, and so forth. And those last 2 phases are really what Simon's sort of maturity curve was about.
Well, Simon, can you then tell us about how you came up with this model and how are people using it?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. So I was working in a large financial services organisation here in Australia, and we adopted Yammer as our enterprise social network, and it was really driven from the ground up, employees engaging with this platform and really trying to create value using it. And as we did that, I was really keen to, just like Laurie, to find ways to build on that experience and share it with new employees and to really foster and accelerate this growth. And as I looked around the network, and I started looking for patterns, so patterns of how people had really begun to create value. And what I discovered was that that value kind of went through 4 key stages. And those stages are, the first stage is around connection. So people coming together, really building an understanding of each other, and also discovering their shared purpose and starting to understand how they're going to work together on this platform. Building norms and connection and being able to work together. The second stage was around sharing. So just starting to expose things that were of interest to them and share them with others in the network, and really building a common context. The third stage, and this is really probably the critical transition, is when people start to solve problems in their daily work on the platform. So they start to see the platform as a place they can go to for information, as a place they can go to for solutions, as the place they can go to get other people to work on problems with them. And that transition for me was really significant. That's when the value of that sharing, working out loud, really starts to come home to the organisation and to individual users. And the final stage is when people take that idea that this platform can actually help them do their work and start to try and answer the what if questions. What if a customer needed a solution to a different need? What if we did this in a different way? What if, you know, we found a better way to do things? And that experience is when people really start to innovate and they start to pull on the capabilities of the organisation to deliver that innovation. I think the really powerful thing in using the model since has been that the model works both at that level of organisational strategy. So who does the organisation need to connect to execute its strategy? What information do they need to share? How do they solve problems and how do they create new ways of working? But it also works all the way down to an individual user. And you can actually sit down with an individual user and ask them to think about those 4 questions around their work and how they might bring their work into the network in new and different ways to create organisational value. And I think that's the really big step here, is that a lot of the time in adoption, we focus only on getting people onto the platform and using it. And that's just not enough. We're missing the opportunity. Organisations want to see strategic value. They want to see value from people doing things, doing their work better or doing things in new and different ways. And that's the real value of the model.
Well, one company I'm aware of who has been following the SWOOP Maturity Model and Simon's model is Bankwest, which is an Australian bank, quite a large bank based primarily out of Perth in Western Australia. So let's head over to Matthew Dodd from Bankwest.
So the maturity model has been really useful for us in terms of explaining where people sit either individually or the groups that they look after, and for them to really understand what's the purpose of the group, and individually, you know, are they making progress? Are they contributing to our network in a way that is valuable not just to themselves in terms of that sort of sharing and connecting, but actually then brings value to the business through the innovation and job fulfillment elements.